Hello everyone, this is a 1936 Gibson L5. This is a 1939 Gibson L7. An L5 this cherry will likely knock you back about 8 or 9 grand, but you can find an L7 this sweet in the 4 grand ballpark. So what is the difference? Why does the L5 cost so much more than the L7? In this video I'll be discussing which of these guitars is best for you and the trials of how you might go about finding and getting one of these gems into your hands. But first, can you hear a difference? Actually, the action is a little too low on this one. You can hear fret buzzing. Raise the bridge a little bit, it'll be taken care of. Both guitars have a 17-inch bout, the same bracing, and the same maple neck. The L5 was introduced in the 1920s as one of the finest instruments on the markets. The carved tops and bottoms were even tap-tuned. The L7 was introduced in 1933 as a more affordable working man's archtop. For the most part, it is an L5, they just cut corners on the cosmetics. The L5 has this super fancy tailpiece and intricate layers of binding. The L7 just has solid binding. The L5 has this neato triple nipple fretboard taper. The L7's is blunt flat. The L5 has this gorgeous, fancy, schmancy finish on the back and sides. The L7 has a plain dark finish on the back and sides. This L5 has brass hardware. This L7's is nickel plated. This L5 has an ebony fretboard, and this L7, Brazilian rosewood. What does all this mean? It means this one looks prettier, but they perform and sound the same. Extreme jazz snobs, feel free to lengthily elaborate how you disagree. You can find cheaper listings than the ones I quoted above, but you'll likely have to invest in repairs and tweaks if you want them to purr like these. These are old guitars. They've been around the block a few times, but each one of them has its own unique voodoo. It's unlikely you can walk into a guitar shop and compare a few of these, so you're probably going to have to search for one online. And dropping this kind of money on something you can't see, feel, or touch can be a little unnerving. I spent months shopping for this L7 online and couldn't be happier with it. Here are some tips about going about that. You're probably going to want some kind of return guarantee. I found this listed on reverb.com from Sylvan Music in California, and they offered a 7-day full money back return. I asked the salesman there if he would send me a video of someone playing it, and they happily obliged, then sent more photos high-res enough for me to meticulously look it over for cracks and whatnot. One of the things you might want to request is that they send you a photo of the sag. Decades of string tension often flattens out the arch top. This L5 has some typical flattening, and it appears the bridge was custom made later to accommodate that uneven incline. I scored this L7 for $3,000, expecting to invest a lot more. It's got several nicks and scratches, and 2 of the inlays were dug out by the previous owner's miles of fretting with long fingernails, and then hacked with some kind of silly putty and tinfoil job. For only a few years in the 1930s, Gibson used these extremely cool picture frame inlays. I cut out 2 new inlays with a jewel saw and sent all the hardware to Neil Sargent in Houston for assembly.
Put this underneath there, you know. That's another thing. I have to put something on the bottom of here so that that wire doesn't clatter.
I was surprised at what great condition it came in. The neck was straight and the body was solid, and there's absolutely no sag. Actually, there is a tiny bit. The thing I love most about this L5 is the way it sounds married to this vintage D'Armond floating pickup. So my L7 had to have one too. purchased 1960s Rhythm Chief and control box on eBay for $600, and it arrived in perfect working condition. On the L5, Chris Mirabella securely and cleverly mounted this pickup without the neck rod. But I think the neck rod matched the Art Deco tailpiece on the L7, giving it a slight steampunk vibe. So, holes were drilled. With the L5, the cable just dangles down in my way, asking to be stepped on and violently jerked out of the input. It's either that or drill a hole. That's the problem with the L5. It's too damn pretty to jack up. You worry about something happening to it. Some drunk walking on stage and kicking it over. Me getting drunk on stage and kicking it over. And of course someone stealing it. To me, the L5 is a home guitar. It's a studio tool and a collector. My guitars get the hell played out of them, and the L7 is a much more sensible working man's guitar. So, out came the drill again. This cable jack is going in the tailpiece. The final job is something I believe I can keep for a lifetime. I like to imagine that when I'm dead and gone, someone somewhere will still be making money with it, oblivious of all the adventures we've had together. If you're a player, you owe it to yourself to have a fine playing instrument like this. There's something about these two guitars that have awakened an inspiration in me to get better and create more. And in this trade, that's a valuable thing. Till next time, friends, happy trails.